Hey guys, this is the third video of the how to make a memory game using Python and Pygame video series. And in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to implement the main method for this game along with some helper functions in order to finish up what we currently have from the previous videos. Okay, so let's get started. So first we're going to start with the text objects function. It takes a string called text and makes a Pygame font object called font, right? And what it does is it renders the font and assigns the returning surface object to the text surface variable. It then returns that surface along with its corresponding rect object uh, gotten by using the getRect method. And these two values are returned to whatever function that calls it. The rect object holds the surface dimensions and size information for this particular surface, if you're wondering what rect is. Next, we go to the button function. It takes a string called message, which is the text for the button, and along with the X and Y coordinates, the width and height for the buttons, and IC standing for inactive color, meaning that when the button is not uh, being clicked on but rather hovered on, this is the color that will be assumed by the button, and AC standing for active color, meaning that when the button is actually clicked on, this is the color that the button will turn to, and the action parameter is for a function call that will be executed when the button is clicked. Okay, so first we get the position of the mouse. Then we compare the position of the mouse with the button object to make sure that the click is inside the button itself. Then we distinguish whether it was a click or a hover. If it was a hover, then we just make the button color to be the inactive color. If it was a click, then we uh, draw the active uh, color for the button, and if an action was also passed into the button, then we call that action as well. And finally, we have the font for the button assigned as Comic Sans MS, and we pass the text objects um, returning values to the TextSurf and TextRect objects in order so that we can display this button to the main window using the blit method, which takes in a surface object being TextSurf and a rect object being TextRect. Okay, so this is how this button object is being instantiated onto the game window. Next, we have the unpause method. Pretty simple here. So all it's doing is setting the game to unpause. The game pause variable is false. So since it's on pause, we're unpausing the game by setting the game pause variable to false. Next is quit game. Pretty simple again. So we're quitting Pygame and then we're exiting sys exit to exit the Python program itself. It's important that we call Pygame quit, and because we have to quit Pygame before we quit the Python program. Next, we have the pause function. This function checks if the game pause variable is set to true, and if it is, it will display a pause menu onto the main window and display two buttons being resume and quit. If the resume button is pressed, then the unpause method is called, wherein which the pause menu is disabled and the normal flow of the game continues. If the quit game is pressed, then the game automatically quits. Next, we update the screen and we continue on. And we're setting the game clock to be whatever this value is, which is turns out to be 30, defined up top in the global variables. And finally, we make our way to the main method. At the top, we can see several global variables which are needed to access the state of the game and the Pygame display window uh, named display surf. Next, we call Pygame init to initialize Pygame. Then we call FPS clock in order to set the general time for the game. And then we call display surf to set the main window using the window width and height dimension variables to set up the window itself. And we're using mouse X and Y, so this is the game window. And these dimensions are set by window X and height, window width and height. We'll set a caption here. Then we call get randomized board. So what get randomized board does is that it randomizes all the uh, objects in the board. So the boxes will be generated in random order. And this is to ensure that they won't be beside each other and make it actually easy for the user to guess the matching positions of each of the sprites. So we want to make it hard, but not too hard. And what we're doing with generate revealed boxes data is we're generating a list of box data that has to be revealed on startup. So in this case, when we start it up, all the boxes are revealed for 1 second. So in this case, we enter false here because we want all these boxes to be displayed at startup. Next, we're filling the display window with the background color. So as you see here, there's a navy blue background. Next, we call start animation, which would start the starting animation for the game. So I'll go through this again. And so this is the starting animation. So right there, as you see, the board was displayed for a second and then it closes. So that's taken care of with start game animation. Next is the while loop. So inside this while loop, we're getting the fulfilling the display surf object with the background color. Then we draw in the board for these game objects. Next, we're setting the score and level display text up top in the left-hand corner so that the user has an idea of what their score is and what level they're on. Next, we're calling the Pygame event get function to get all the events. If a quit event occurs or the escape key is pressed, if the quit event occurs, then we quit the game. If the escape key is pressed, as is right here, the game pause menu is prompts. So this is done because when we set game pause to true and the pause method is called, when the pause method runs and sees that game pause is set to true, it'll automatically display the pause menu to the main window. And from there, once the pause menu is resumed by pressing the resume button, then we can continue on with the normal execution of the game. Right here, we're just filling the top left-hand corner with the color black so that the text variables and text information is available in real time. And now we get to the pixel finding position. So there has to be a function that records each mouse click and mouse event of the game. And this is done by get box at pixel. So whenever I click a box, this function gets the position of the mouse in X and Y coordinates, passes it into this structure of its nested if statements. So if it's not a revealed box, draw a highlighted box. So in case it's a hover event, then just draw a highlighted box. And if the mouse was clicked, then we're gonna reveal the box by calling the reveal boxes animations function. that would reveal the uncovered sprite. Then we're going to check if it's the first selection. So this will be an example of a first selection. This will be the second selection, right? So if it's the first selection, then just make a note of that and move on. If it is the second selection, which is the else statement, we're going to compare the first selection, which is represented by icon 1 shape, and we're going to compare it to the icon 2 shape, which is the second selection. If the comparison is correct, then we call the has won function to check if the game was actually won, or rather a matching pair was found and the game continues on. So let me give an example of that. So as you saw there, when the two matching pairs are found, the has won function is being called, but since there's other tiles on the board that are not matched, the game will not end. Okay, so it'll continue on, and the game, if all the other tiles have been matched, then what happens is we call the level up object to add an extra column and a row to the game board in order to make it harder for the user. And then we randomize the board, reveal the box data by showing all the boxes for 1 second, draw the board, update Pygame, and wait, and then start the game animation. Basically, we repeat the process shown at the beginning of the main method, resetting the game to the next level. Next, I want to mention if the first selection and the second selection does not match, what we do is we just cover the boxes using the cover boxes animation method. So let's see an example of this. So as you see here, it no matches. There's no match, and the boxes are immediately covered, and it's set to false. Our revealed box coordinate is set to false. And finally, we're calling Pygame display update to refresh the screen continually. Otherwise, Pygame would be stuck in one screen. So that's what display update is doing, continually refreshing the screen. And then we call FPS clock tick at 30 frames per second in order to specify how many frames per second should pass between each second, in this case 30. So that would set the general speed of the game. And that's all I have for this video. So we've successfully completed the coding of the game. Um, as you see here, we'll go over the successful implementation and the running and testing of this game in the next video, so that you can have a better idea of how the game works and how you can apply this logic to yourself and your projects. So that's what we'll do in part 4. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching my video. Please make sure to like and subscribe. And if you have any comments, leave them below. And thanks for watching again. Bye.